Hello everyone, and I'm Autobot Sonic the Telltale Gamer, bringing latest things Transformers, Telltale games, and more. So here we are, after 2 months, we are finally at the last review for Transformers EarthSpark Season 2A, and my last review for now until the next batch of Season 2 comes out. Today, we're going to be looking at the Season 2A finale of Transformers EarthSpark with episodes 9 and 10, Witwicky Parts 1 and 2. Now, these two episodes, mostly episode 10 though, have been quite a bit controversial in the Transformers fandom. Some are saying that it's a really good, strong ending to an otherwise sort of mediocre first batch of a season. Others say that it's completely ruins a lot of characters and plot lines and stuff. There's just so many reactions across the board for these episodes. But what do I think of these episodes personally? If you're asking me, I think that, well, yes, these episodes do have some problems. At the very least, I can say it is a very, very entertaining finale to watch for this 10-episode batch of EarthSpark Season 2, and it makes me very excited to see what Nickelodeon and Dale Maltos and Ember have in stores for the next batch, and hopefully a third batch after that. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and see everything these finale episodes did right and what they did wrong. We're going to start this review off with covering episode 9 Witwicky Part 1, which starts off in the dugout with all the Maltos just having collected another Ember shard in between the events of episodes 8 and 9. However, as Nightshade goes to put this shard in their little vault of all the Ember shards they've collected so far, suddenly there's this huge explosion of chaos energy that seems to, take over Nightshade's body for a second and causes them to float up in the air, start emitting this red aura, though eventually the energy subsides and it seem to be fine. So when Dot and Alex ask them if they're okay, Nightshade explains that it all was just a little bit of burst of chaos energy from the Ember shards. Though despite that though, they seem to be fine and put the shard back in the vault, where they explains the rest of their family that they have actually gone and successfully managed to collect every single Ember shard on the planet outside of those that Starscream already has collected. So therefore, their job is pretty much done except for attacking Starscream now and getting all of his Ember shards back. So because of this, Nightshade and all the rest of the Maltos started this little, dance victory party, and which gives us another lovely, good dancing Terran meme that I am for sure going to be using for the next few months, because I love the little dance they all did back in episode 15 of season 1, Bare Necessities, and now we've got another dance here. I just love it. However, though, this little bit that Nightshade says about them having collected all the Ember shards around the world does make me a bit upset, because we never saw any of the Maltos go outside of Witwicky to collect any emberstone shards. Apparently, for the past year, they've been scouring the world, going to different places for Ember shards, but yet every single Ember shard we've seen them collect has only been in Witwicky. At the very least with Transformers Prime, yes, most of that show took place in Jasper, Nevada, but we also had occasional episodes where, say, they went to Cybertron, or they went to a volcano, or they went to the Arctic. Why did everything in EarthSpark have to be located in Witwicky? I understood for Season 1 it made sense because it was a very localized story, but when you have your story focused on collecting Emberstone shards scattered across the world, why are you only showing us what's going down in Witwicky? I think you didn't have to show us go to, France or anywhere, like Paris, anywhere really snazzy. You could have just dropped us off in an Arctic locale or some sort of jungle or something, and that would have been good. EarthSpark Expedition, the video game, did that just fine, where we had Bumblebee going to the desert, he went to the Arctic, then he went to the ancient ruins, and that was perfect. Why couldn't we see any of the Maltos go to those areas as well? Hopefully we see a bit more change in scenery in the next few batches of Season 2, because I was really hoping we'd see more than just Witwicky this season. This episode also has really, really good storyboards, and it is done by a multitude of storyboard artists. Unfortunately, Lillian Fiedler did not work in this episode like she did with episodes 4 and 7, but a few more storyboard artists that I've mentioned throughout my reviews do come back for these episodes, those being Eric Meister, who did episodes 3 and 5, Josh McKenzie, who worked on episodes 3 and 5 as well, and of course the GOAT himself, Kevin Molina Ortiz, who worked on episodes 1, 6, and this episode. And it's great to see all of them doing storyboard art for this. I especially love the little bits we have here of Mo and Thrash interacting at the party, and then one bit of Nightshade and Jawbreaker doing breakdancing during their little victory dance, and it's just really cute to see how EarthSpark's animators with 88 Pictures, they were able to take these storyboards, which are far more stylized in my opinion than the ones in Season 1, and but still managed to convey the emotions that were in those storyboards in the final animation. So really good job. I didn't have any problems with these 2 episodes facial animation wise, which I was really happy about. However, that's when you get to the main plot of this episode, where despite everyone partying and all that, having a good time, that they have presumably gotten all the emberstone shards outside of those Starscream already has, Dot and Alex go over to Robbie and Mo, congratulating them on doing such a big job or such a big project as to saving the world over the past year, while also balancing their regular everyday lives as students. And so, but at this point though, that's when Alex brings up to Mo if she has finished her history report yet that she's supposed to be doing for school on the history of Witwicky, and Mo tells him that, oh well, I'll just do it tomorrow, but he's like, the report is due tomorrow. And so she's immediately pulled out of the party by Dot and Alex, where they tell her that she needs to focus more on her schoolwork, that while they understand that saving the world and from all the shards is important, she can't just shirk her responsibilities as a student just to party with the rest of her siblings. And there is a funny moment here. I love Xeon Broadnax's performance as Mo in this episode and episode 10, but specifically this scene too, where she's arguing with Dot and Alex about how, like, oh, like, come on, like, can I just party with them? She's like, no, you gotta be, like, a responsible student and do your work. And Mo just gets so, snippy with, Dot and Alex. She's like, oh, this is so stupid, I don't even like history. And then, of course, hearing that, Alex, the history professor, immediately goes into shock and faints in Dot's arms when he hears his own daughter doesn't like history, which is a little funny moment that I did enjoy. It's at this point, though, when Mo is arguing with Dot and Alex, that Hashtag comes over and offers to help Mo with her project by doing a little internet search on Witwicky. However, when she has Val do such, Val tells Hashtag that apparently there's absolutely nothing interesting about Witwicky, where literally when they do a Google search on Witwicky, they say, oh, Witwicky, it's a town in Pennsylvania. That's it. And so at this point, Mo and Hashtag are stumped as to what they could potentially do to try and write a report on Witwicky if there's nothing interesting about Witwicky. But that's when Thrash suggests to Mo that maybe they should go and investigate the ruins that he and her discovered all the way back in episode 2 of this season, in ruins. So Mo then asks Thrash if he wants to come with her to go and explore the ruins. But of course, with Thrash having absolutely hated the ruins back in episode 2, he passes on it, which Hashtag then offers to go with her instead, which cuts to the main portion of this episode. The episode then cuts to Mo and Hashtag arriving at the same ruins Mo and Thrash discovered back in episode 2, with the two of them going through the same traps and everything that Mo and Thrash did. We get to see like all the darts in the wall where Mo and Thrash had to run through like the arrow pit, or jump over like the little pitfall trap with all the spikes that Mo nearly fell into that Thrash saved her from. But as they're going around exploring the big main chamber where Mo fought the Quintesson Executioner in an episode, Hashtag asks Mo a bunch of questions about what happened with the Executioner. Like, does she know why the Executioner was even put here? What's the connection to Quintus Prime like, essentially, and so on. But Mo says that she didn't really learn much from the Quintesson Executioner, because all she had to do was that when they were fighting, all she got from the Executioner was that he was made by Quintus Prime, and that apparently the Executioner was trying to find Quintus so that he could pay for his crimes of abandoning him and the other Quintessons. And I love the episode for this because it's a huge, huge lore bomb for EarthSpark. Not just Season 2, but also a lot of stuff in Season 1 as well. And as we see here, Hashtag goes over to where the big pod that the Quintesson Executioner came out of and was then launched back up into the sky by Mo in that episode 2. So as Hashtag walks over, her weight though causes the whole floor to collapse, and she ends up falling down this huge pit, seemingly to her death. And so Mo jumps down into the pit after her, trying to save her, where they just barely able to get saved by getting on this little natural stone bridge, and they find themselves in this huge chasm. And at the end of the chasm is a door very similar to the same doors we saw everyone navigate all the way back in episode 21 of Season 1, which Dwells Within, where Hashtag was able to open all those doors in the tunnels under the ghost base where they met Starscream and the Dweller. And it's a cool, really cool callback to the episode where we finally get an explanation as to what this tunnel system actually was. But that's not the only thing that returns in episode 21. Just as Mo and Hashtag think they're okay, Hashtag suddenly gets freaked out by the Dweller presumably having returned, and we think at first that it is the same Dweller that Hashtag supposedly killed back in episode 21, but this is proven false when there's not one, but 3 Dwellers that Hashtag and Mo have to run away from this whole time. However, as they're running though, they do manage to hide from them for a little bit, but then when Hashtag's about to make a run for the door, Mo stops her because that point, apparently, we get a nice little interesting thing as to how the Dwellers work in EarthSpark, where she flashes back to episode 21 of season 1, where Mo mentions that the only reason why the Dweller ate Thrash in that episode when it ignored Jawbreaker, Starscream, and everyone else was because apparently Thrash had his headlight on at that point. So Mo has to make Hashtag trust her in basically turning off all of her like internal lights, even like walking blind, so that her like the lights in her eyes don't disturb the Dweller either. So we get this actually really cool scene here where Mo and Thrash have to carefully navigate all of the Dwellers without disturbing any of them or getting eaten by them. But it's intercut with this like scene from the party that all the other Maltos are having too back in the dugout, where we actually see in a very cool way Dot and Alex are dancing the Tininkling, I think it's called. And for those who don't know, the Tininkling is a proper traditional Filipino dance, and I think that's, again, so cool that we don't just see, like, Dot and Alex doing, like, disco or some other, like, just normal dance. The fact that we actually have Dot and Alex doing a traditional Filipino dance with Alex being a Filipino man is such a cool way to further show off his background and heritage as a Filipino man, similarly in the same way as to how he knows how to fight skilled in Arnis, or how Robbie has Cyber Kali sticks as his preferred offensive weapon alongside a Cyber Shield. It's such a cool thing. So like we have all like the cheery like Tininkling music as Robbie and everyone else is watching Alex and Dot dance this dance, while at the same time that same music is played over Mo and Hashtag dodging all the Dwellers, even to one point where Hashtag has to like do limbo under one of the Dwellers' bodies, while at the same time we see Dot and Alex doing I think a proper limbo during their dance. It's just so cool. And thankfully though, because of Hashtag trusting Mo, the two of them are able to make it through just as the Dwellers finally notice them, but Hashtag is able to just use her power from episode 21 of season 1 to close the doors and save them both. Once Mo and Hashtag are safe, Mo asks Hashtag how there could be multiple Dwellers if Hashtag supposedly had killed the only Dweller there was back in season 1, and Hashtag's confused by this as well, so she then gets the idea to try and basically uncover what the truth is of all of these tunnels. So she has Val essentially pull up a chart of all the tunnels they explored with Starscream back in episode 21 of season 1, a current like trajectory map of all the tunnels in the current vicinity of them, as well as of all things showing tunnel data that she uncovered from Agent Croft's hard drive all the way back in episode 3 of this season. So it's cool actually that we do actually get a payoff to what was in Croft's hard drive. It was never stated in episode 3 what exactly the plans were, but we did get sort of teased it when Shockwave presented what the contents of the drive to Starscream while Hashtag got the actual drive. So we actually learned what was on Agent Croft's hard drive. It was a total, complete layout of all of the tunnel systems under Witwicky, and when Hashtag puts them all together on our map, we find out it looks like a giant hand. And just as Mo is about to point this out to Hashtag, all of a sudden though, they get suddenly swept up in this giant flood of cave water that fills the tunnel and starts sucking the two of them out through it to just across. And the reasoning for this flood is actually, as we see in a series of scenes while Mo and Hashtag are doing this, is actually caused by Spitfire and Aftermath. So at the same time Mo and Hashtag are exploring the cave system, we've been actually seeing Spitfire and Aftermath in the same cave that we saw Robbie and Mo take Twitch and Thrash to get the cave water from all the way back in episode 7 of season 1. And we know it's the episode 7 cave specifically because, as we can see on the wall of the cave here, when Spitfire is stabbing the Cyber Slayer into the wall to try and find where this little thing that Starscream tasked the two of them with looking for in the cave. We see the same little hieroglyphics from Quintesson Prime. It says the exact same phrase we saw back in episode 7, where it was like, oh, in times of need, help shall answer your call, or something like that. So Spitfire and Aftermath are trying to just get the Cyber Slayer to react to something. They're stabbing at the ground, stabbing different spots, but then Aftermath finds the little graffiti or the hieroglyphics there and starts stabbing at it again with Spitfire doing it as well. And eventually they crack it open enough to open up a hole in the cave, but then the tremors from the cave causes all the cave water to flood the tunnels, getting Hashtag and Mo sucked around. But this is where the huge reveal comes in. So eventually, Hashtag and Mo end up escaping the flooding tunnels by getting shot out what seems to be some sort of, like, downward cave. Only to find out eventually, it's the nose of a giant titan that is sleeping under Witwicky. And so they're now in this giant cave where they see the face of this titan they just fell out of. And then, as Mo or Hashtag goes to touch it, the titan's eyes open and addresses the two of them, where the Titan reveals that her name is terronis, and in a little, long but also very, very important lore bomb, we learn that terronis is technically the very first Terran, and that is the source of all the tunnel systems we saw all the way back in Season 1. So, it wasn't just some big, random tunnel system. What Hashtag Starscream everyone was running from inside the Dweller was the body of terronis, and as we see here, the reasoning why terronis was created is because we essentially learned the entirety of what Quintesson Prime's mission was here. So that essentially, long ago during Cybertron's origin, Quintesson Prime apparently left Cybertron and brought the Emberstone to various planets to create new life in the hopes of eventually, after millions of years, more intelligent species would rise and the Cybertron could essentially become allies with these species. And one of the very first races that Quintesson Prime created with the Emberstone was, of course, the Quintessons. However, after the Quintessons learned that they were essentially just creations of Quintesson and were sort of discarded by him, the Quintessons came to detest pretty much every single species that was created by Quintesson Prime. So every planet Quintess went to, the Quintessons went to as well, destroying each of those planets, just in an effort to try and find Quintess and kill him. Eventually, this led the Quintessons to chase Quintesson Prime down on Earth, though in an effort to save the Emberstone, Quintesson Prime used the Emberstone to create terronis, who was able to fight off the Quintessons, and while Quintesson Prime left in space, he left the Emberstone with terronis to guard it from the Quintessons, so the Quintessons went after Quintess instead, believing him still to have the Emberstone. So terronis stayed on Earth for millions of years, until eventually, just over millions of years, the mountains formed over terronis' body, burying her in it, and so she acted as just a dormant guardian of the Emberstone until Robbie and Mo came along, who were apparently deemed worthy by terronis to activate the Emberstone and give birth to Twitch and Thrash. So that right there is a huge lore bomb for the whole continuity of EarthSpark, explaining how the Emberstone came to be, what Quintesson Prime's role in the story is, and essentially just what the Quintessons are doing as well. And it gets me really hopeful that perhaps we'll see the Quintessons again later on this season. Maybe they'll become the true big bads of this season, sort of like how Ghost slowly turns into true big bads of Season 1. It's something that I really hope happens. On top of this, though, terronis also reveals finally the reasoning why Hashtag is able to open all the doors inside terronis' body when seemingly no one else can. And as terronis explains to her, the reasoning for this is because Hashtag has that specific, she was chosen by Quintesson Prime to get his power to be able to control terronis' body. Only Hashtag was given this power. So it wasn't just some sort of just random luck that Hashtag does it. terronis personally chose Hashtag to be the one avatar capable of controlling her. And I think that's such a cool thing. This also show the natural evolution of Hashtag's powers. We saw her go from having control over Wi-Fi and internet back in Season 1. Eventually, and later in Season 2, she has Val, who can do all sorts of things with her body, and now she's able to control terronis, essentially. The fact that this maybe thinks that maybe they're trying to set up Hashtag as a city speaker, almost? No, so for those who don't know, city speakers are a subspecies of Transformers that have the power of communicating directly with Titans, and in some cases, even piloting them. Some examples being Windblade in the IDW comics and Cyberverse continuities, or Lightbright in the IDW 2 continuity. If they decide to go this way and make hashtag a technical city speaker, I think that would be so cool. But anyway, after that last revelation, Terronis asks Mo and hashtag what happened with the emberstone, since it's been missing ever since the events of season 1. And that's when Mo's like, oh yeah, so we kind of broke it and we're trying to get all the pieces back. So at this point, Terronis warns hashtag and Mo, though, because the emberstone shattered, it has become corrupted, and corrupted objects, or corrupted Cybertronian artifacts, I should say, become instantly imbued with chaos energy, and therefore can be used to, like, for a lot of malicious purposes. It's at the same point, though, when Spitfire and Aftermath actually break into Terronis' body as well, and Terronis can feel their chaos energy from the Cyber Slayer infecting her body. So she warns Mo and hashtag that they need to get the Emberstone and fix it before Starscream can use the Emberstone completed to take over Terronis' body, and that essentially reveals what the whole point of Starscream's plan was. He plans to rebuild the Emberstone and using its combined Chaos Stone form to take control of Terronis' body, get inside to her spark chamber, and take control of her in an effort to essentially raise Earth to the ground and rebuild it as new Cybertron. And that is where Episode 9, Witwicky Part 1 ends. Honestly, this is a really good episode. I absolutely love it, though I do agree that it is pretty slow until this big lore bomb with Terronis at the end. So I'm gonna go ahead and give Episode 9 about a 7.5 to an 8 out of 10. But anyway, let's go ahead now and get into the very meaty episode. That is Episode 10, Witwicky Part 2. This episode just picks up immediately right after Episode 9, with all the Maltos still in the dugout partying, until they suddenly get a call from Mo and hashtag basically explaining everything they've learned, that Terronis is a titan buried beneath Witwicky, all the tunnels under Witwicky is her body, and that Starscream and the other Decepticons are going to try and get all the Ember shards together to take over Terronis' body and use it to basically raise Earth to the ground and create new Cybertron. Essentially, any of you who've seen Attack on Titan, Starscream's basically trying to start the rumbling, essentially. So, hearing this, Robbie basically rallies everyone together, gets all the Autobots to go launch an assault on Starscream's base to go and steal his Ember shards in the effort of completing the Emberstone so they can restore it, while he has Thrash and Alex stay behind to guard their Ember shards in case anyone decides to try and attack them. So then, as they make their way over to the Decepticon HQ with all the other Autobots, we actually see Spitfire and Aftermath heading back there as well, reporting to Starscream that they had found Terronis. At the same time, though, Shockwave gets into a little argument with Starscream about how this whole plan of using Terronis to turn Earth into new Cybertron is pointless, and that instead they should be focusing on getting back to proper Cybertron, considering they have the space bridge left dormant from Mandroid's attempts to kill everyone at the end of Season 1. However, Starscream claps back by saying that it's pointless to get back to Cybertron because Shockwave was apparently supposed to find proof that Cybertron is even still alive after Optimus threw Optimus and Megatron threw the AllSpark into the space bridge at the end of the Transformers War. However, since Shockwave has been unable to prove that Cybertron is actually still alive, Starscream says that it's not worth it to try and get back to Cybertron, and that they should just focus on getting using Terronis to turn Earth into this new Cybertron instead. And so it's at this point then we get all the Autobots heading over to the Decepticon base to battle them. This includes Grimlock, RC, and Wheeljack. So like I said, Wheeljack was not killed by Spitfire in Episode 7, but it is cool to see actually RC here as well, because this is the first time we've seen her since the Season 1 finale, and unfortunately, once again, she's not voiced at all. She doesn't have any voice lines, and she really only shows up in one blink and you miss it shot of her in the background fighting, I believe, Soundwave or one of the Seekers, but still, it is cool to see her included in this regardless, considering it's an all-hands-on-deck situation. Another part I really love about this, and actually was confirmed by the head animator of EarthSpark, is this one bit where at the very beginning of the fight, we actually see Bumblebee and Breakdown seek each other out during the fight to fight as well, where we see this really cool shot of Bumblebee and Breakdown like in their alt mode, sort of like smashing into each other, doing like a wheel, like a spin, like a donut in the middle of the Decepticon base before they go off into their own section fighting each other. But as you can see Bumblebee and Breakdown fighting each other, they're not actually really fighting. They're actually like throwing like really slow or like very telegraphed punches and kicks where they're all able to dodge them. And some people actually notice this on Twitter, asking like, oh, it's so cool that Breakdown and Bumblebee seeked each other out. And the head animator of EarthSpark actually confirmed it, saying, oh yeah, we loved seeing Bumblebee and Breakdown together in Season 1. We loved the dynamics. So we kind of made it a sort of a standard that every time we have Bumblebee and Breakdown on fighting each other, or at least on the Autobot and Decepticon teams, and they're forced to fight each other, they will intentionally seek each other out and sort of play fight, essentially, so that therefore they are still fighting, yes, because it's Autobots versus Decepticons, but they are keeping their friendship intact by making sure they're not doing too serious damage to each other, and I love that. It pretty much makes Breakbee canon, at the very least, in a platonic sense, if not romantic, but man, I am eating so good as a Breakbee fan. Thank you, EarthSpark, for making Breakbee semi-canon. Now I just need to have them kiss it later on the season, and it will be perfect. So while Optimus, Megatron, and all the other Autobots and Terrans are battling Starscream and the rest of Decepticons, we actually see Robbie and Twitch sneaking back up to the main, command center of the Decepticon base to try and steal Starscream's Ember shards again, very similar to how they tried all the way back in Episode 1 with Nightshade as well. Now, there's a really interesting scene that happens here as Robbie and Twitch are getting away with all of Starscream's Ember shards, and it's that Shockwave is watching them the whole time, and just when they're about to leave, we see Shockwave behind them, looks like getting ready to shoot at Robbie and Twitch. Though right when he has them in their sights, he doesn't shoot them. He actually stands down and lets Robbie and Twitch get away. And this is never brought up again throughout the entirety of this episode. And it makes me believe that perhaps we're looking at a potential divide in Decepticons between Starscream and Shockwave. That perhaps Shockwave is going to betray Starscream maybe later on in Season 2 and try to win over the Decepticons to try and convince them all that getting back to Cybertron is better than turning Earth into new Cybertron. And I think that's really cool. We've always seen other Shockwaves in past continuities sort of try to take over the Decepticons when they don't approve of Starscream or Megatron's leadership. So I'm interested to see where this goes, and hopefully we actually get to see Shockwave turn into a much more bigger villain as a result, because I think Troy Baker does a great job of Shockwave in this whole episode too. So Shockwave not shooting at Robbie and Twitch, they're able to get out and nearly out of the whole Decepticon base until Starscream shows up holding Alex at knife point, essentially threatening to kill him unless Robbie gives back all the Ember shards that they stole from him. But on top of that, Starscream also has all of their shards as well, because in a series of scenes that we see throughout this whole bit while Robbie and Twitch were sneaking in the whole time, we actually see that Spitfire snuck into the dugout to take out Thrash and Alex, so she ended up kidnapping Alex after she knocked out Thrash, and due to the fact that she's pretty much a copy of Twitch, changes her eye color to match Twitch's to pass a retinal scan, and therefore steal all the Maltos shards. So it's at this point now, in a very cool way, it's a calling back to Robbie's growth as a character all the way back in Episode 1 of him going family first the whole time, or learning to put family first the whole time. And the whole time, Alex is begging Robbie not to give up the shards because his life isn't as important as saving the entire world. However, despite Alex begging Robbie not to give Starscream the shards, Robbie, of course, having gone through everything he did in Episode 1 and most of this season so far, as a matter of fact, just can't bring himself to sacrifice his father just so that the Ember shards will be safe. So he then ends up giving the Starscream the Ember shards, and just as he does, Starscream tosses Alex back to him, and with that, Starscream completes pretty much pretty much nearly recompletes the Emberstone, with the only two bits missing are the two shards that are inside of Aftermath and Spitfire, and the creation of this huge nearly complete Emberstone creates a giant wave of chaos energy that takes out pretty much everyone. I wouldn't say it necessarily kills everyone here, but it turns them, almost petrifies them, turning it into stone, very similar to how the Immobilizer acted back in Season 1. It hits Optimus, Bumblebee, Megatron, all the Autobots, and even all the Terrans, so Twitch, Nightshade, and Jawbreaker are all frozen. The only ones that are not frozen are Thrash and Hashtag, because Hashtag's still down in Terratronis' body with Mo, and Thrash is knocked out back at the dugout with, after Spitfire knocked him out. So, of course, this means then that the final two Terrans to save the day in this episode against the big threat of Starscream are Thrash and Hashtag. And this makes me so happy. I get Twitch is the main Terran, but it is so good to see that Thrash actually gets a spotlight in these two episodes, to have him be the big hero alongside Hashtag, who help Robbie and Mo defeat Starscream. It's so good, but we're gonna be ahead of ourselves. So essentially, now that the Emberstone is pretty much nearly completed, Aftermath and Spitfire go with Starscream into the cave to head to Terronis' Spark Chamber, just as Mo and Hashtag are already there. So Mo and Hashtag get there first, where they're just investigating the whole thing, and you can see that it's clearly it's Terronis' Spark Chamber, but also I'm pretty sure it's her head as well, considering like no, it's not her head. It's just, or it might be. I don't know. But anyway, they're looking, and it looks very similar actually to the map room Hashtag and Starscream were in back in episode 21 of season 1, down to all those little glowy orange plants as well. However, it's at this point then that Aftermath and Spitfire show up with the Cyber Slayer, holding Mo and Hashtag hostage enough time until Starscream comes in. And man, I love how Crush Effect uses Starscream's theme in this episode, where we heard it back in episode 21 of season 1, and then a few times throughout the course of this season whenever Starscream shows up. But to have it like play this a lot more slowed down, almost menacing version of it as Starscream walks into the Spark Chamber with a nearly completed Emberstone, it's super cool. So with the cat out of the bag, Starscream essentially reveals his whole plan to Hashtag and Mo, that he plans to use the nearly completed Emberstone to take control of Terronis' body and pretty much start the rumbling on Earth to turn it into new Cybertron. And this is when a lot of people have a problem with this and how Starscream acts. So, as Starscream's walking toward Terronis' spark to infect it with the Emberstone, Hashtag tries to appeal, do one last chance to appeal to Starscream's humanity, bring back up their conversation in episode 21 and all their character development, where she says, oh, after everything you told me about being taken advantage of by Megatron and so many others, how can you just turn around and do the same thing to everyone else in this planet? And then Starscream says, he echoes the words that he once told Hashtag all the way back in episode 21, which was to remember to take care of herself. But then at the end he says, and that's exactly what I'm doing here.
After everything you told me about being taken advantage of for so long, how can you just turn around and do the same thing?
Hashtag, my advice was, remember to take care of yourself, which is exactly what I am doing.
So there are quite a few people that have problems with this, that Starscream essentially's words that he seemed to be were very kind and just good advice that he gave to Hashtag at the end of season 1 is sort of being twisted into this very selfish mantra of sorts. And I understand where people are coming from, that it does recontextualize Starscream's words in a much more sinister light, but I don't think it's essentially so bad. It's not the worst thing that happened. Like, I don't think it's completely recontextualizing what Starscream told Hashtag, but I understand that in a rather sweet moment, it just turned into him, like, just plotting the whole time. I get that. I feel like it could have been worded better. Like, imagine Starscream saying to Hashtag instead that, like, why do you care so much about humans and Autobots? Did you not see what they did to me and all my fellow Decepticons? We were locked up, prosecuted, and chased down for years, and now you're still willing to side with them after everything they've done? Look at what Mandroid and Croft did to you last year, and you're still working with the humans? Why don't you just join me and we can just rule over this planet together as it should be? And I think that would have been so much better, and Hashtag would have been torn, because maybe she would have said, like, oh, well, yeah, you're right, that a lot of people do hate Cybertronians, but if we just if we turn back and meet hate with hate, what is that going to do? Nothing's going to progress. And then she would be like, oh, like, I liked you, Starscream, but I'm not going to let you hurt this world any longer just because of the pain that you cause. And then it would have been cool if Starscream was like, and here, like, then you leave me no choice, and then he shoves Mo and Hashtag out, but that's not what happens. So after Starscream has his little speech, Aftermath and Spitfire shove Mo and Hashtag out of the Spark Chamber, locking them out. Just at the same time, Robbie and Thrash actually get there, because after Starscream used the Emberstone to pretty much petrify all the Autobots and other Terrans, Robbie ended up calling Thrash to pick him up and head over to Terronis as well, based on the signal Mo and Hashtag left. There is a very small moment here, though, where when Thrash is waking up and being called by Robbie, that I think who we're seeing right here is actually a grown-up Fluffy Ears licking Thrash awake. And it's never outright confirmed, but considering this cow that is licking Thrash is a lot larger and has Fluffy Ears, signature Fluffy Ears, I at least believe that this is a grown-up Fluffy Ears after a year since the events of Season 1. And granted, this is presumably Fluffy Ears' only appearance in Season 2 so far. But I hope we actually get confirmation that maybe, yes, this is Fluffy Ears, and that she grew up after the events of Season 1. It's a nice little cameo Easter egg that I thought was really cute. But then, after that, we get to the scene that I think, in many people's eyes, this is what they believe ruined Starscream's character in EarthSpark. And, to be fair, I understand that it definitely doesn't paint the best picture for him going forward, but I can't deny at the same time how absolutely impactful this scene is, if anything else. So anyway, after Aftermath and Spitfire lock Mo and Hashtag out of the Spark Chamber, and Robbie and Thrash come to meet them as well, Aftermath gives the Cyber Slayer to Starscream when he says he needs it for his plan. And then this happens. He takes the Cyber Slayer, stabs Aftermath in the chest with it, ripping out his spark and killing him. He takes his Ember shard and just straight up kills Aftermath. Now, I was absolutely floored seeing this for the first time. The way that just straight up Starscream explicitly kills him. And granted, we're not seeing Aftermath like bleeding cave water all over the Cyber Slayer on the floor. There's no like blood or anything in this whatsoever. But we do see Starscream literally stabs Aftermath through the chest with it. Granted, it's a bit censored by the fact that there's a bunch of lightning around Aftermath's chest. But you can see quite a bit of it is inside of Aftermath. It's not like he's just poking him with it. He's distinctly stabbing Aftermath with it. And yeah, he's just Starscream straight up kills Aftermath and takes his Ember shard so he can complete the Emberstone, but it still needs one more, and that's Spitfire's shard. And so when she sees Aftermath's dead body hit the floor, she is absolutely freaking out. And man, oh man, like, I get it. People are mad at Starscream for this because he pretty much kills 2 Cybertronian kids in this scene, and I understand that. Like, honestly, it feels like there's no coming back for Starscream from this after he literally just killed 2 children. But at the same time, you can't deny just how impactful and, like, shocking this is. And just from an entertainment factor, it's very entertaining. I didn't care too much for Aftermath's death. Like, with him dying, I'm like, I didn't really like him after the second half of this batch. But with Spitfire, it does kind of hurt seeing Spitfire get killed here as well, because she's freaking out. At this point, Robbie and Mo are like banging on the door trying to get Spitfire to open the door so that they can save her, but it's too late. As Spitfire tries to open it too, Starscream just pops up right behind her in one of the most horrifying ways imaginable. And this is like honestly really like shocking, like it's scary how Starscream kills Spitfire. He literally grabs her, throws her to the ground, and steps on her arm to keep her in place as he stabs her in the chest with a Cyber Slayer next, killing her and taking her Ember shard as well. And now granted, Spitfire's death is a lot less graphic than Aftermath's. We're not seeing on screen like the moment where Spitfire dies or Starscream stabbing her chest. All we see is the back of Starscream as he stabs her in the chest, lightning all around him. We hear Spitfire screaming, begging him not to kill her, and then we just see a one shot of like Spitfire's legs all thrashing about, and then she just goes still after Starscream kills her. And man, Zelda Williams was so good as Spitfire in this scene, and that's why it sucks, because I really liked Spitfire as a character. I truly believed she had the potential to be the next Agent Croft. Now see, where with Agent Croft's death in Season 1, I felt that was the perfect time to kill her off. She did her job, and have her be this big government figure that hates Cybertronians, getting one pulled out from under her by Mandroid, that was a fitting death for her. She stuck around it long enough, and she fulfilled her purpose. With Spitfire, though, I really think EarthSpark didn't even scratch the surface with her. There's so much more they could have done with her character, and I hope for that there's maybe some way that Aftermath and Spitfire aren't dead. Maybe they'll be revived at some point, because at the very least, I want to see Spitfire again. I think there's so much more EarthSpark could do with her character. Make her the main bad guy, that now that after Starscream killed her in Aftermath, maybe she feels like she can't trust anyone now. Now she just goes off on her own, trying to maybe make a new army of like Terrans to like be the best, like the strongest in the world. And that would have been such a cool thing to see. But now that Spitfire is dead, I don't know if she's going to come back, if she'll get revived in the next batch. But that's one thing. I am disappointed that Spitfire was killed here. Granted, it's a very impactful death, and Steve Blum does a fantastic job of Starscream in this episode. But at the same time, I just wish we didn't have to see Spitfire die. I wish maybe we could have found a way to have her live without Ember shard, but we'll have to wait and see in the next batch if Spitfire does return. And so, after Starscream kills Aftermath and Spitfire, the second Spitfire's body hits the floor, Hashtag just looks at Starscream totally shocked, and then she says, you're even more cruel than Megatron was.
You are more cruel than Megatron ever was.
Such compliments in my moment of triumph.
And that's a thing a lot of people have a problem with as well. The fact that where hashtag back in season 1, she was willing to open up to Starscream, say that like, hey, I understand maybe Megatron did abuse you, and he was wrong for that, but you don't have to suffer anymore because of him. But now she's just going back on that, saying here, oh, you're even worse than Megatron now. You killed children. Hashtag, sweetie, I don't mean to alarm you though, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure Megatron did some pretty heinous things back on Cybertron and in the world. I'm pretty sure quite a few human children may have died during the main Transformers war, but I guess we're just ignoring that because this time we saw Starscream kill the two of them. I don't know, but it's just something to think about. And I understand that, like, it does ruin Starscream's character a bit, but at the same time, though, it is very, very entertaining, so I can forgive her for that. It's a bad character choice for Starscream, in my opinion, but it's an entertaining one, at the very least. Similarly, here, after hashtag tells Starscream that he's worse than Megatron, Starscream just laughs it off. He says, oh, I'm flattered. You flatter me, hashtag. Such compliments from you. And it just feels weird that Starscream is okay with being called worse than his abuser. Like, what? Like, why would Starscream be okay with being... Maybe you could just chalk it up to him, like, just going insane with power now that he's got everything what he wanted, that he's completed the emberstone. He just doesn't care what he's called because now I can be better than Megatron and so on. Maybe he just doesn't care anymore. But still, it just seems like a weird choice that he's not angry by hashtag telling him that he's worse than Megatron. But anyway, after that, Starscream finally takes control of terronis. He uses the corrupted emberstone now to corrupt her spark and therefore just take control of her entire body. And in the process, he even gets what Thrash calls a chaos sleeve, where there's like this big Quintesson-like growth around his right arm, very similarly in design to a cyber sleeve like Robbie and Mo have. And with his Chaos Sleeve, he now forces terronis to rise out from the mountains of Witwicky and pretty much start the rumbling by flattening the entirety of Witwicky. And now, I gotta say, the animation for terronis coming out of the ground and starting to raise Witwicky to the ground, it is phenomenal. Easily the best animation 88 Pictures has done in this entire season so far. This is up there with Twitch and Spitfire's fight in episode 6 as one of the best animated moments in it. And I love it, everything. The choreography, the massive just scale of it. It makes you realize that, wow, like terronis is huge and how she's destroying pretty much everything in here in Witwicky. But anyway, at this point, Starscream then forces terronis to eject Robbie, Mo, Thrash, and hashtag out of her. So the four of them are racing back to Witwicky trying to avoid terronis, while at the same time they see all the Decepticons that are getting knocked around by Starscream as well inside terronis, because as he's destroying all of Witwicky, he ends up destroying this big plateau that Breakdown, Shockwave, and all the other Decepticons are on. And at this point, Shockwave realizes that Starscream's pretty much gone mad with power, and he tells all the Decepticons to follow him because he's going to make the Decepticons, like, powerful again and make sure they survive. So, but granted though, considering the ending of this episode, I'm not exactly sure where they're going with this, because, spoiler alert for my review at the end of this, review, Shockwave and Decepticons are pretty much captured at the end. So, are we just implying that Shockwave and the other Decepticons are going to escape at some point, or is this just aborted halfway through the episode? I don't know. So it's a bit weird in my opinion, but hopefully there's a payoff for it in the next batch of Season 2 where we see maybe Shockwave as the main antagonist instead of Starscream. But anyway, as terronis is just destroying Witwicky under Starscream's orders inside her spark chamber, Robbie, Mo, Thrash, and hashtag are just struggling, trying to think about what they're going to be able to do to stop her. And so at this point, Robbie gets an idea and he starts walking towards terronis, and it's a really, really awesome shot where you have Robbie and Mo on the street of Witwicky and then terronis looming over them so massively. It's the cinematography in this is absolutely great. But anyway, Robbie proposes to Mo that similarly to how all of them plus use their barriers to save hashtag from Android's control back in Season 1 and Episode 18, he's thinking that maybe they can make a giant barrier, even bigger than that one, over terronis to therefore sort of purify her spark and rid her of her corruption from Starscream. So Mo's a bit uneasy about it, not sure if it's going to work, but she's willing to try it. And so at the first, they create this giant crystalline like barrier that's starting to be formed around Terronis, but Starscream inside of her just has her swatted away and shatter it, claiming that there's nothing they can do to stop him. However, this time, though, they get proper encouragement from Hashtag and Thrash this time, blending their power to Robbie and Mo as well. And this time, they are able to successfully create a giant barrier around Terronis. This time, it successfully works. Starscream isn't able to break out of it, and once the whole barrier is completed, it ends up actually purifying Terronis' spark, removing the corrupted emberstone from her, and ridding Starscream of his cyber sleeve, or chaos sleeve as Thrash calls it, as well. As I mentioned before, though, as Shockwave and all the Decepticons are trying to escape, they too get locked in the forced giant barrier that Robbie and Mo create. As does, honestly, almost half of Witwicky. Like, half of Witwicky honestly gets covered in it well. So, like, did Robbie and Mo just unintentionally doom, like, a couple citizens of Witwicky to be stuck inside of that bubble with all the Decepticons and Terronis? I don't know, but I'm gonna assume all the civilians of Witwicky got out of the affected area. But anyway, with Terronis now immobilized and Starscream stuck inside her for the foreseeable future, plus all the other Decepticons stuck in there as well, it seems like the day is saved, and the completed corrupted emberstone appears in front of Robbie and Mo and Hashtag and Thrash, and so they believe that now that they've got the Emberstone, all is going to be well and dandy. They can purify it and then use it to save Terronis and potentially maybe even revive Spitfire and Aftermath. Granted, though, that's never said by them that they're going to use it to revive them, but maybe that's what they were planning to do with it. However, just as they're about to finish purifying the Emberstone, it turns red again, shatters again, but this time all the Emberstone shards turn to dust. And Mo is like freaking out, thinking like, what are we going to do now? Terronis is going to be stuck in comatose state forever. There's nothing we can do to fix. We went through all this trouble to get all the Emberstone shards. What do we do now? But Robbie seems to not be bothered by Naslaya, saying that, like, oh, well, nothing good ever happened from chasing all these Emberstone shards anyway, and we've got the power of the Emberstone inside us with these cyber sleeves, so maybe it's for the best that the Emberstone is broken. And so, after that, Thrash and Hashtag go with, Robbie and Mo, just as Robbie gets a call from Twitch showing off that all the petrified Autobots and Terrans are okay as well. So Bumblebee, Megatron, Nightshade, and Jawbreaker, all of them are fine now as well. And that's where the episode ends. It ends with Robbie and Mo looking at the comatose Terronis, and Robbie says that they'll find a way to really save her and, like, purify her eventually. But for now, they're gonna just go home and deal with the fallout of Starscream's attacks. And with that, where do we go from here with the rest of Season 2? We'll just have to wait and see. And so, that was my review of Transformers EarthSpark Season 2, Episodes 9 and 10, Witwicky Parts 1 and 2. I gave Episode 9 a 7.5 to an 8 out of 10. Episode 10, I'd probably give an 8 to an 8.5 out of 10. Absolutely phenomenal animation on the whole fight between Robbie, Mo, Thrash, and Hashtag against Starscream and Terronis. All of the music in this episode was phenomenal as well. The little, like, ominous music track where Starscream kills Spitfire and Aftermath is phenomenal. Great work from Crush Effect. But at the same time, though, I just can't overlook just what the damage this does to Starscream's character. And it looks pretty bad to see him having essentially killed 2 Cybertronian children with Aftermath and Spitfire. But who knows, maybe in Season 2B and hopefully 2C, we'll see more growth from Starscream. Maybe he'll actually resent what he did to Hashtag, Robbie, Mo, Thrash, and the rest of the Terrans. Maybe he'll regret killing Aftermath and Spitfire. And I hope at the very least, maybe Spitfire can even be revived somehow. And I just hope, because I really feel I loved Spitfire's character, and I hope it's not the end of her. But anyway, we'll just have to wait and see. Otherwise, it was a very, very fun episode. Granted, there are problems with the plot I have and stuff, but plot aside, it was a very fun episode, and that's where I draw the line mostly. If an episode is fun, I can overlook some, like, plot stuff. But anyway, that's it. I will be back in the foreseeable future with episode 11 of Season 2 whenever it comes out. Unfortunately, the names for the entirety of Season 2's episodes did not get leaked, so we have absolutely no idea what to expect for the rest of EarthSpark Season 2. Are the Quintessons going to come back and be the true big bad? Is Starscream going to hatch up another plan to take over Earth, or maybe work with the Maltos, do something else? Will we get some sort of rekindling between him and Hashtag? Are we going to see more of what Shockwave had in store, maybe going back to Cybertron? And when is Prowl going to show up? Because we know for a fact he is going to be an epic character later in this episode, but he just hasn't shown up yet. Will we see any other Autobots or Decepticons, or maybe even brand new characters like Maestro show up again? We'll have to wait and see. But again, thank you all so much for watching my review of Transformers EarthSpark Season 2, Episodes 9 and 10. I had a great time, and hopefully we won't have to wait too long for Episode 11 through 18 of Season 2 to be out, which will hopefully, I would like to say, maybe by the end of October or November at the very least. So excited as I am for the next batch of EarthSpark Season 2 and want me to cover more stuff about EarthSpark in the future, be sure to like, comment, and of course subscribe, and I will see you guys later.